Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon it's an honor for me to stand here and to present to you Senate Bill 38 today. Mr. Speaker, would you please have the clerk call House Committee Sub 1, please?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to Senate Bill 38.
Gentleman from Menifee.
Move for adoption.
Question before the body is on adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Menifee.
Thank you, sir. There's an old saying that I've heard, 3 times is a charm. Well, today I come to you with 4 times, I hope, is a charm. 3 years running, I have actually ran this bill almost word for word for how it is today, and we pass it out of this chamber every year by overwhelming majority, but for some reason or another, sir, the other end of the hall would not address it or take it up. So we're back here today with Senate Bill 3, which is now passed over there and come into our possession. What this bill does is very simple. It allows school districts, if they so choose, to contract with vendors, a vendor of their choice, to install cameras on the school buses that would record illegal passing when a bus is stopped, allowing a child to either exit or enter onto that bus. We've been very fortunate over the years that we haven't had a student killed here in the state of Kentucky. There has been some fatalities across the country. Some of the videos that you might see, I just seen one just a few days ago popped up on my phone of a truck that passed a parked bus, and the children were just instant tenths of a seconds from being hit, but fortunately they weren't hit. But there has been several fatalities across the country. Just real quickly, and I will be brief, sir, the cameras would only be active when the school bus arm is engaged. There would not be no recording of this with the arms unless they're engaged and the bus is stopped. I realize and I know that there are some members that have issues with cameras, and we've talked quite a bit about that over the years, but I honestly feel that this is a very important piece of legislation that would actually catch people that are passing a stopped school bus. The most vulnerable time, I believe, for a student is that moment that they're going onto that bus and coming off of that bus. I think that's probably the most dangerous point of maybe their entire day, especially in areas where you have high traffic volume. In the school year 23-24, the Kentucky Department of Education actually asked their drivers, where they asked the districts to ask their drivers across Kentucky if they would one day just keep a log or a record, if they could, of how many illegal passes happened in one day. There's over 8,000 school buses in Kentucky. I think the actual number is about 8,300. But of that 8,300 drivers, there was 1,400 that participated that one day. 1,400, approximately 1,400. Those 1,400 drivers actually logged over 400 illegal passes in a one-day period. Almost 1 out of every 3. So you can imagine the numbers would have been much higher than 400 if all 8,000 drivers would have participated in that. So if this bill becomes law, the recorded violations would be reviewed by Kentucky law enforcement officers before a violation would be sent. The video would be reviewed. All video after 31 days would erase and go away, or it would also go away if the person was sent a violation and they went ahead and paid that fine. Now, there's also There's due process in this bill. Appeals would go if you felt like you had been illegally, wrongfully cited. You can appeal that in through the district court in the area where the violation took place. And again, all these recordings would quickly, after 31 days, be destroyed. The proceeds from the violation would be retained by the school district to help them maintain, help them pay off the expense. I know there are some districts across the state that have already done this on their own. Actually, one of the districts that I represent, talking to their superintendent, I think it was last year, said they had actually equipped some of their buses, a few of them, and it generally was at a cost of about $2,000 a bus. So this hopefully would help people, districts that didn't have those extra funds to do that with, and all the proceeds, again, would be retained by that school district, except a $25 fee that would be for the officers that would go back to the law enforcement group that made that arrest. I would like to yield for just a very quick comment, Mr. Speaker, if I could, to the gentleman from Johnson 97. He has a comment, the gentleman from Johnson 97. He's going to share something, if that's okay, sir.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, gentleman from Menifee, and certainly want to thank the sponsor. I know you don't know this, but I'm a survivor of being hit by a truck when I was just a young kid, and glad, I was very fortunate in fractured skull and several other things, but at the same time, I survived where others may not have been as lucky as me. But I do support this bill. It's very important. I'm glad to do anything we can to help our students from school to home and back. So thank you very much.
Gentleman from Menifee.
Mr. Speaker, if you wouldn't mind to have the clerk report House Floor Amendment number 1.
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Floor Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 38.
Gentleman from Menifee.
I want to thank the gentleman from Campbell 67. When we heard this bill in committee a few days ago, there had been some language that had somehow or another had came out of the bill, and what House Floor Amendment was, he asked me if we could put that back in, and all it basically said in House Floor Amendment 1 was that a school bus, children could not be transported on an autonomous school bus. So we would not be allowed to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, I would ask for the adoption of House Floor Amendment number 1. I would be glad to answer any questions if anyone has any at this time. But at this time, I would like to ask for passage of Senate Bill 38 as amended by House Committee Sub number 1 and House Floor Amendment number 2.
Motion made.